Greetings everybody, welcome back to Moonlight Productions. Today, we're heading west of the Atlantic New England area as we venture into the Bluegrass state of Kentucky, the 15th state to join the Union, and the birthplace of our beloved 16th President Abraham Lincoln, who was born in Ogdenville. The Cherokee inhabited the area of modern-day Kentucky. Hernando de Soto was the first known European in present-day Kentucky in 1543, what was considered part of Virginia. Soto landed at the western bank of the Mississippi River, and more explorers would arrive in the area and face opposition from the natives. Considering the area was rich regarding the importance of the agricultural economy, having someone say the land that they own now belongs to them, that's going to tick off a few natives. The area of Kentucky would become part of Virginia until 1792. The Commonwealth would split from Virginia because of the differences in economy and attitudes towards each other. So the Appalachian Mountains became the boundary of what would split Kentucky and Virginia. During the Civil War, Kentucky still supported the Constitution of slavery, but the state decided to remain neutral and was still technically a member of the US during the Civil War, even though some members of the Kentucky legislature wanted to leave the Union officially. Since then, Kentucky still runs a lot on the agricultural industry, which continues to dominate statewide like many neighboring states. Regarding the population of Kentucky, the state is 26, with around 4.5 million residents, or about 1.35% of the US population. As for landmass, Kentucky is the 36th in the nation, close to around 39.7 thousand square miles of the landmass. If you want to visit the state capital, you're going to head to Frankfort. Around 27.8 thousand residents live in the state capital, making Frankfort 47th out of all 50 states in terms of population capitals. In comparison, Kentucky might not be the most palatable location to call home in the US. However, the Bluegrass state isn't exactly shrinking like many other places like California, Illinois, or Mississippi. So, if you want to know more, please join me as Moonlight Productions presents the top 5 good and bad about Kentucky. Number 5. The politics. Considering the Senate Minority Leader is Mitch McConnell, a senator since the 80s and one of America's most hated politicians in power, you must know that politics are involved in the state, which is also quite weird, because even though Kentucky is a significant state for Republicans on the federal level, once you start looking into the local issues, things tend to get more strange and competitive. A lot of unions and teachers hold a lot of power in the state, and some elections where Republicans can win on one ballot, a Democrat can win the position on the same ballot. The story of Kentucky going from a condition of solid Democrat to Republican is undoubtedly interesting, but on the state level, it's still tighter than expected. Next month is the general election in Kentucky for the incumbent Democrat governor, and if he wins in this upcoming election, it's going to be a crystal ball for what's going to happen in 2024. If you pay attention to politics, Kentucky is an interesting place when it comes to the political arena. Number 4. The weather. Kentucky throughout most of the summer is hot and muggy. At the same time though, you're going to also have to deal with some not so fun winter weather, mainly as you have to deal with those frustrating winters more if you live out east and northeast. The summer months tend to generate tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, and flooding. The winter months tend to create ice and snowstorms. Although similar states like North Carolina, you can also choose where you want to live in the state based off your preferred weather type. The eastern portion is more mountainous and cold, while the western and middle section of the state tends to be more hot and humid with more mild winters. Number 3. The lackluster education. Kentucky should invest more in the education system. That's all I have to say there, but I'll get more into it. Kentucky is about middle of the road in terms of adult literacy in the nation with a score of around 87.8, with some of the best states like New Hampshire and Minnesota being around 94%. Educational attainment is 43rd in the nation, and the quality of education is 19th, which is alright. However, scoring all those places together, Kentucky is 43rd out of the nation with a score of 35.70, which compared to the 80s that you would get in states like Massachusetts, there is something sad to compare to. But it should be something else to say when it comes to struggling schools and education in the state, especially compared to a place like Massachusetts, Maryland, and other New England areas. Number 2. The poverty. Leeching off of the last subject about your bad schools can lead to a lack of industry and lack of good paying jobs. There's also something else coming up regarding that as well. Industries like coal, manufacturing, and agriculture are essential jobs, and we still need them even in 2023 and beyond, but those aren't the highest paying jobs in the nation, and a lot of those industries are starting to go away. Since the lack of good paying jobs is not really much of a reality in Kentucky, Kentucky is the 8th poorest in the country with a score of 14.9, with the national average being around 11.7. Kentucky isn't the worst state for poverty or by making ends meet, but most people on average are scraping to get by. And number 1, the high crime rate. You have terrible education, being your ice cream, you have the poverty for your whipped cream, and the cherry is the crime rate altogether, is one nasty combination that you're gonna find disgusting, unless you think Sundays are disgusting, results in a higher than normal crime rate. Kentucky violent crime is 212 people per 100,000 residents. Gun violence isn't appealing since the crime rate is 21 per 100,000. The average crime property is about average for a 2021 estimate. While it isn't Mississippi, Alaska, or West Virginia levels of problematic when it comes to crime, Kentucky isn't a slouch when it comes to your money, safety, or home. Sanity is not safe in the Bluegrass state. Number 5, you're getting all 4 seasons. One of the more iconic viewpoints about the Midwest is that the summers are aggressively hot and the winters drive up your energy bill. However, that can be seen as an attractive commodity when things change in the environment and you're up for the mood for some new scenery where you live. Kentucky will fill your bill reasonably, from outdoor activities in the spring to even fall time to enjoy the regular activities that one expects when you're in the season. Even your simple tasks in the holidays are going to be a full swing in Kentucky. It's nice to have a change in scenery, and Kentucky's one of those excellent choices. Number 4, the centralization. Being on the borderline between all these different heartlands of the United States, Kentucky has some benefits to going to major cities like Chicago or Nashville to visit smaller communities as well from West Virginia to Ohio, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Kentucky has some of the highest numbering of bordering states. Only Tennessee and Missouri have more neighboring states. Centralization allows you to make more trips while still staying close to home, improves business traffic, and makes commutes more financially in decent shape. And if there's anything anyone knows about this region of the country, we're going to visit that aspect later on. Number 3, food and bourbon. You're going to come across a truckload of great food and bourbon throughout the Appalachian Mountains and the South. So Kentucky's going to be no different here. Kentucky has some great barbecue, Benedict, oysters, and beer cheese are some of the greatness that Kentucky food is known for. The bourbon scene is something you're also going to want to visit, as well as Kentucky. It's not that bathtub gin that people think Kentucky are still behaving like they're in the Prohibition era. Louisville is one of the best spots in Kentucky for a lot of college kids who enjoy a good night out. Number 2, the great outdoors. If you're into being outside, Kentucky is an underrated gem. Most of the state's eastern portion is going to be in the Appalachian Mountains, and if you're into mountains like I am, you're going to love being in East Kentucky. There's an extraordinary amount of rivers in the state. The Commonwealth is excellent for recreational trips from boating to fishing and kayaking. It's also a great appeal regarding the different types of portions of outdoor visiting if you're more into the easy wildlife viewing or even shooting. The bluegrass fields in northern Kentucky are somewhat underrated, especially if you want to hike or bike, horseback riding, as there's some other natural attractions. Sure, places like the Virginias give some darn good competition. However, it would help if you didn't sleep over Kentucky. It's a pretty geographical place without the same number of tourists. It's a trip that's very much worth it. And the best thing about Kentucky is the cost of living. Like most of the Midwest and South, Kentucky is also a great friend if you're looking into not crushing your bank account. Kentucky's average home cost is nearly 23% lower than the national average. The regular home price is around $190,000 as of March 2023. The property tax is also modest. A standard home is going to only cost you around $2,000 annually. The income tax is about 5%. Thankfully, unlike most of the southern states, which are known for having a middle to high sales tax, Kentucky is pretty steady at 6%. There are also even some more money-saving opportunities in the state. Groceries are 7% lower, healthcare is 21% lower, and even gas is on the low end in terms of the national environment. My preferred simplified list is in terms of your value. For example, if you have $100 nationally, using that money in Kentucky, it's going to be the 5th best state in the country, transforming your $100 investment into $113. Your bank account will thank you for living in the state. And that's it. Those are some about the good and bad about living in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Obviously, those are just some of the good and bad about living in the state, but if you think I missed something, please feel free to comment. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below and check me out on social media if you have the time. Thank you again for your time and take care of yourself. Bye!